each other. If you are mentally on the same level, there is little chance of not falling in love. My race mates in this way, and it works out better than your haphazard mating."
When he realised that Dick still hesitated, he was slightly upset. Then, reaching into a leather bag hung from a strap around his neck, he stretched forth a handful of bills.
"Go and get yourself a good meal. It is now morning. When 2 more mornings have passed, come again. Don't be afraid to use the money for anything that you desire. This does not mean that I expect you to accept the offer, but it will allow you to think it over carefully, without thinking of your stomach. Buy clothes, a room to sleep in, anything else that you want. Be comfortable, and do not worry about what you spend. If you refuse my terms, I will be disappointed, but will not expect to be repaid."
As Dick reached the street, he shook his head. It all seemed so fantastic. But the money in his hand was real money, and there was a lot of it. Suddenly he realised that people were staring at the handful of bills, and he hurriedly stuffed them in a pocket. When he was alone for a moment, he stepped into a vacant doorway to count it. There were 14 20s, 10 50s, and 3 $10 bills in the lot, 27 bills in all, representing $810. Folding the money carefully and placing it in a safe pocket, he noticed a sign across the street. "Shoes," it said. He glanced at his own, then limped slowly across when the traffic lights changed. For a moment he looked in the window, then stepped inside. While the shoe clerk was busy, he carefully slipped a 20 from the other bills. It would seem strange if he had too much money, with his feet in such shape. The next stop was a restaurant. Then followed a trip to a clothing store, and he left his old suit behind. With new clothes, shoes, and a meal beneath his belt, he began to think the offer of the stranger was far from fantastic. What if he did have to marry a strange girl? At least they would both have comfort and companionship wherever they went. Barrow's first appointment was on Tuesday morning, and Friday found him climbing the same stairs. He watched the papers, but there had been no repetition of the advertisement. Evidently the strange man had all the applicants he wanted. The outer office was empty, but when he opened the inner door, the queer man was smiling, just as Dick remembered him.
"Come in, Mr. Barrow. I'm glad to see you. I was surprised to hear of your use of the money, but was pleased rather than disappointed. You did well."
For a moment Dick was taken aback. Then he smiled sheepishly.
"I don't know just what to say, sir. I did so many things, but I didn't know I was being watched."
"Every move you made was watched carefully and reported to me. I know where you spent every hour since you left here the other morning. I wanted to know how you would act with money enough to do as you pleased for a few days. You acted wisely, and I'm glad that you spent so much of it on men who need it. You bought 22 pairs of shoes, 36 shirts, and 45 suits of underwear. You also bought cheap suits for 9 men, and several odd-and-end accessories as well. Out of the total sum, you spent less than $100 for yourself, and yet you have only $42 of the sum I handed you. The remainder you used for meals and cheap lodging for the men you have taken care of in the past 3 days. You have gone through a lot of money since you were here."
Dick stammered as he spoke.
I'm sorry, sir, but I thought...
"You thought just right. I did give you the money to use as you pleased, and I'm proud of the way you spent it. But I want to know the answer. You must have decided by this time. If the answer is yes, you will bind yourself to a lifetime of work. If it is no, we will say goodbye."
Dick's face lighted with a smile.
"The answer is yes. I'm proud to leave my future in your hands, even to my marriage. I made up my mind to do as you desire, and am prepared to leave any time you're ready. I hope you've hired everyone you need, and that we'll all enjoy our new work."
You are a brave man, Dick Barrow.
There was admiration in the voice of the stranger.
If you remained here, I believe you would make your mark in life, but you will have even greater opportunity where you are going. I believe your decision will prove to be a happy one. You must stay at a good hotel, reasonable if you want, although it is not important. I will send the girl to you within a few days. You will be married as soon as possible after you meet her. She will bring a letter, and will do exactly as you say. I will allow time for you to get acquainted before I have further orders. From that time you will obey my orders explicitly, and follow every instruction without question. Every member of the party will take orders from you, and you must give them.
Once more Dick was handed a handful of bills as he prepared to leave, and knew there was even more than the first time. But he would live in constant dread of meeting the girl he was to marry. As he started to open the door, the man spoke again.
Use the money as you desire. It will be your last chance of spending any, and I want you to enjoy yourself as much as possible during the time remaining. Do what you like for the men in the park, or any others you wish to help. If you need more money, send a messenger to this room, but don't come yourself. Don't contact me again until my orders require it. Have a good time.
Dick felt that he was living a dream, but a very pleasant one. Just one thought disturbed him: who the girl would be, and what she would be like. End of chapter 1.